Hello everybody, welcome to Painting with Victoria. I'm very excited to teach you some new techniques today in watercolor painting and teach you how to paint a beautiful snowy wonderland with some of our woodland animals like bear, deer, rabbit, and fox. So to start off with, I am wetting down my 140-pound watercolor paper that has been taped down to a board and making sure it's very saturated. I'm going to go ahead and dip my paintbrush in a Prussian blue mixed with a little Payne's gray, just to give it that more of a deep dark blue color. I always mix my blues. I never put just one color down. But just feel free to experiment on a scrap piece of watercolor paper first before you use your good watercolor paper. So anyway, I am just going to keep laying down the blue until it's 2/3 of the way down. And watercolors usually dry lighter like acrylic paint, so you want to make sure you don't make it too light. As you can see, I just keep applying the blue on to get it more of a rich, deep blue color. So I'm going to dip my brush in this beautiful rose color and mix it with my sky color to get sort of a lavender shade, something on the warm side. And I'm going to go ahead and just brush it in a few places on the snow part, the ground. Now mind you, my canvas is still very wet, and so it's going to definitely bleed, which is exactly what I want. And as I travel upwards and give it more of an ombre look, it's just softening it. You can already see a lot of motion in my landscape. So now I've got a brush that I've just dipped in water, and this is just a large round brush. And as you can see, I'm just tapping my paintbrush as it splatters down. It's giving quite a nice, soft, snowy effect. And this is exactly what I want to do. I love this technique. It works every single time. So I love sharing techniques that work for me. Some people use salt and things like that, but I just use water. And it just seems to do exactly what I wanted to do, and that's make kind of a chilly, snowy effect all over the entire watercolor paper. So I've got a paper towel here that I've kind of pinched into a point, because what I'm going to do is press it down on my paper. It's still very wet, so I'm able to lift some of the paint off. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to have just very subtly a tree in the background. So of course I'm just using this dry paper towel to lift off the paint, and keeping in mind that I'm trying to keep it in the shape of a forest tree. And you don't have to always do a tree. You could make it look like bushes in the background, and bushes of course would have lots of snow on them as well. But we're not really featuring the trees. We are going to feature the animal and the snow. So this is just subtle background that we're trying to achieve in this particular part of the lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and splatter some more water on top so that it actually overlaps the soft trees that I did. And each time you do a layer, it gives it depth. So let's go ahead and do this again, just in case you didn't quite catch it the first time around. I'm going to wet down my paper. As you can see, I had a little spray bottle, so I sprayed it first, and then just make sure the entire paper is saturated with water. And we'll go right back to the same colors again. The Prussian blue mixed with a little Payne's gray, and just do the same technique again. I always do two side by side. As you can see, they're taped right next to each other, And I have 2 more on the floor that I'll be working on as well, but not in this video. So you can see that I'm just sort of going in all different directions because the wind would be blowing and I just don't want to look like, you know, the lines are going straight across. That doesn't make any sense. So as you can see, I'm just sort of just laying down this color, heavier in some areas and lighter in others. And just keep going. Don't veer off from the first technique. And as you can see, I've already applied my snow. And splattering it again. Lots of splatters. Just gives it such a nice snowy effect. I love this technique. It works every single time. And they always come out different from each other, so which makes it very unique to sell hand-painted holiday cards or just give them away. Most people, when they see that you hand-painted it, they're so excited to have a hand-painted card. Who's giving those out? You know, people like us, that's who's giving them out. So I'm going to do the same thing with a paper towel. Make sure it's a new one and nice and dry, and then I'll start stippling another tree here. And the more you do this, the easier it gets. And definitely practice first on a cheaper piece of watercolor paper, just because you don't want to just experiment on a good piece of watercolor paper. And like I said, I use 140-pound cold press paper, and I usually buy it in big sheets, and then I cut it to the size of what my card is going to be. And you can always find plain envelopes at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or one of those craft stores. So last year I bought some silver envelopes, and they just went so well with my winter scenes. So this tree looks good. Just gonna get lift in a few more spots, and there we go. Just keeping in mind I want it to look like a forest tree, pretty easy. Thin on top, white on the bottom. This is a really tall tree, taller than the other ones, but I like to make them all a little bit different. I also use this technique for making clouds. It works just as well for clouds, except for you just lift off the shape of clouds, which is even easier than doing a tree. But whenever I do my ocean scenes or landscapes, it really is the best way to get soft, billowy clouds that have a lot of definition in them. And then later, if you want to add some other shades, you can. So here you see I've got my 2 paintings side by side. They're done. And I'm going to definitely want to let them dry really well. Okay, so they are dry, and I'm going to go ahead and just hit it with a little more water, just to try to add some more depth into it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work when it's been dry. But here's some white opaque acrylic paint. Now this is going to be my next level of snow, and it's definitely going to come out opaque and not clear. So I'm going to use the same technique, but please make sure you water down your paint, otherwise it will just stay on the brush and it won't splatter. So as you can see, you're starting to see some really beautiful pure white snow flakes falling down now. And if you find that it's not working for you, just go ahead and dip your paintbrush in some water and swish it around in your paint and just really make sure that it probably should be the consistency of, like, I don't know, milk. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just still splattering and splattering. Stop when you feel like it, because you're going to do another layer of snow after we get our little woodland friends glued down. So just continue to add as much snow as you like. And here's my second set of cards that I did. I'm working on 4 right now. But I just love all the depth. When you put this layer of snow down, it really gives the painting a lot of depth, and the snow in the background, oh, it just looks so pretty with the snow in the front. As you can see, I'm getting paint all over my hands, all over my table, so do make sure you have a protected area that you're working with. I even got a little of the paint on my face. It's just hard to keep it from going all over the place. So here they are finished, and they are ready for the little wooden creatures. I just love this effect. It's so beautiful. It's pretty just like this, but it's definitely missing our little friends. Here's the other 2. As you can see, I put a few more trees on this one. Just so subtle though, way off in the distance. Because I'm really not featuring the trees. I'm trying to feature the animals and the snow. So these I cut out on my Cricut machine. And as you can see, they're just obvious shapes. This one's already painted, this deer right here. And I love that 3-dimensional look. So what happens is after they're painted and dry, I use a little tacky glue and I set it where I want to and press it down, and there you go. You could use a thicker tape if you want it to stand out, but that's totally up to you. And I'm just going to walk you through how I paint my animals. It's not a whole lot that goes into it. So we're going to work on this black bear. And the bear has a very light coat of watered down black paint, and I put a little bit of tan on his muzzle area. But after that dried, I decided to go ahead and start giving some depth to this bear. And as you can see, it's more of a charcoal gray that I'm working with right now. This is all good. This is what we want. And I'm just using black watercolor paint right out of my pan here. This particular set is from Artistro. They have a lot of beautiful colors to choose from. So there's always that depth that you want to emphasize, which is the legs and the back. So as you can see, I am painting the 2 legs that are in the back a little darker and adding some more paint, but leaving some of the light gray. We want that for definition in the fur. Okay, so that dried, and now I'm just going to dip it in more black paint, maybe a little less water too. This is something you're going to have to gauge on yourself, but I definitely want to, make sure I put enough water where it spreads nice. So as you can see, I'm emphasizing the back legs by making them darker. And I'm going to use the black paint to start giving the motion of fur, leaving some of this lighter gray showing. You don't want to completely cover up everything with this darker black color. It's really important that we have a little bit of definition in the fur. So as you can see, I am just painting in the direction of what the fur would be doing. His little eye has been cut out, so that once I glue it down, I'll just take a Sharpie, a fine tip Sharpie, and fill in the eye black. This Cricut machine is amazing. You're able to get so many wonderful images, thousands of images. If you just type in black bear, there's so many images that come up. You just pick the one you want, and then you size it to the size that you want. And I usually save all these images for future cards. But see, now you can see how the fur is really getting more defined. And I may even do one more level. Let's just see how this dries. Got his little nose done. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and do another layer, And as you can see, I'm just hitting it in a few places just to give it some more depth. And this is the final layer on his coat. And once this is dry, he'll be ready to glue down in the little winter forest scene. So here's a buck deer that I decided to work on as well. I am just going to hit the antlers with the like a charcoal gray color. It's right next to the black, so I know it's got to be gray. And I'm going to go ahead and use, I already gave it with burnt sienna. I just gave it a light coat, and I did sketch out his face already. Just look at photographs of deers if you're wondering how to do that, because that's what I do. I don't know out of my head how a deer is supposed to look exactly. So as you can see, I'm using less water, more paint to define the shape of his face, around his muzzle, around his chest, and the rest of his body. So just watch. Best way to learn is just watch. I'm kind of going back and forth with this beautiful kind of a terracotta red color and the burnt umber. Don't forget to darken the back legs more than the front legs. Again, I'm trying to just sort of I'm actually winging it as I go. If I see something that needs to be darkened, then I just darken it. And the back legs, you see how I've made them darker so that it gives it a little bit more of a three-dimensional look. And deepening the edges of my piece here. Most of this paint is so wet that it's just going to kind of fade into each other anyway, so don't be afraid to really, lay it down. I'm going around his muzzle right now and the rest of his face. And the other detail I will do with one of those micron pens that are waterproof, and they're perfect for the detail, like the nose, the eyes, and maybe his mouth. Dip this a little black and a little brown and really get this defined down here, the shadowed leg in the back. It's coming out very nicely. I'm so very happy with it so far. There's still I feel like I need to also deepen the color of the antlers as well. So as soon as I get done with his face, I will work on that. And let's see. Dip it in the brown and a little bit of gray and just really deepen his antlers. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Sometimes when the piece is all through, I will actually hand paint snow on top of his antlers like it landed there. I think that always looks kind of cool. So these are finished pieces that I did with the same technique. As you can see, the rabbit on the left, I did a little bit more definition with the fur, but I just look at photographs of animals and try to, draw with a little bit of animation, not too much. These look a little bit like Peter Rabbit, Beatrice Potter, Peter Rabbit, which I wasn't trying to accomplish. I didn't even have those pictures in front of me, but they seem to kind of take it on that look. So as you can see, I have one of these micron pens. I believe this is a 02 size, and I've had this pen forever. These things never dry up. They're wonderful for this kind of a project. So and I'm just kind of defining where his hands, his feet, his eyes, everything else goes. And it's really up to you, you know, how much detail you want to put into it. But don't go overboard. Sometimes less is more. Like I said, as you can see, the little rabbit on the left, I put more definition in my painting, the fur, and the one on the right, I kind of laid back and just did it on a softer version. You can see my foxes in the background. I just used a really beautiful terracotta red color, left the tails white and the muzzles white. They are very simple to paint because there's not a whole lot to them, and so are these bunnies. There's just parts of the animal you want to leave. If they're supposed to be white, just don't put any paint on it at all. Just leave it. But I love this part. This is so fun. So as you can see, once you're done with your animals, look how sweet. You decide where you're going to glue them down. And look at my fox. How cute is that? I do later on put a little shadow under their feet using that purple color. But you know, on a scene like this, there's no sun, so there's not a whole lot of shadowing going on. So you don't have to worry so much about distinct shadows. So this is the last part. He's glued down. All my animals are glued down. And now I'm going to do that snow effect with the acrylic opaque paint. And this just shows that there is snow all over in front of the animal as well. So that makes sense. If you were outside looking at one of these animals, you would see snow in the front. So this is the final part of these cards, and it just finishes it off. Look at this beautiful fox. Isn't she pretty? I have a thing for foxes. I have a thing for all animals. I just love animals. So same thing here. We're just going to splatter it up, and you can see there's not a whole lot of detail to this animal, so the snow really gives it some detail and depth and just a lot of whimsy. So after this is done, I did outline them with silver paint, a paint pen, just to give it a little border. And look at my little rabbit. Isn't that so cute? Just looking off. And just try not to go crazy. You don't want to put too much snow in the front, just enough to where it gives it a realistic look. So here are my finished pieces. And look at the bear. Didn't he come out great? I hope you enjoyed this class. I know I did. And please leave me any comments or questions in message below. But for now, thank you for watching, and shop my shop on my website, and go to my Instagram and follow me. And I'm just so glad you could join me today. And I hope we'll get to paint again real soon. God bless you. And I want to shout out a special thanks to bensound.com for letting me use their music. Take care. Bye-bye.